Once again, a reminder, this is not the real episode. If you want to watch the episode about enclosures, go back and watch the other one. This is just going to go over what I got at the recent Expo.
First off, we have Kyla fimbriatus. Now, I already have a sling of this species, however, I've never had an adult. Now, this is a very interesting species. It is an Asian species, and frankly, all the Asian species have something weird about them. This is an extremely heavy webber, and they are a very light burrower. They tend to go down just a little bit and stay in that area. However, they will turn their enclosure into a winter wonderland full of webbing. Next up is my Reitz Gigas. This is a baboon tarantula native to Cameroon. Correct me if I'm wrong, it's somewhere in Africa, meaning this species is mean, it is perpetually angry, and it burrows like almost all baboon spiders. Like most baboon species, this is what's called an obligate burrower, meaning it makes its hide completely underground. I have not provided a hide to mine. I just started a burrow for it to know where to start, and it has already started burrowing. I will never provide a hide to it, and it does not need it. I was actually injured more than I've ever been injured with a spider, rehousing this one. No, it did not bite me. No, it did not kick hairs, because it's not capable of doing that. No, rather, I prodded it with my little straw that I've shown you guys in the past, and turned, didn't just throw a threat posture, it actually chased me out of its enclosure. It chased me down, I jumped so hard I pulled a muscle in my neck, and I'm still kind of stiff. It hurt, kind of a lot. There's really not a whole lot to show in the way of an enclosure. It's this tall black one right here. There's only about that much non-dirt space near the top just to allow it to leave its burrow every now and then, and for a water dish. It will spend its life mostly underground, hence the sheer amount of dirt in there. That enclosure is what's called a really useful box. I will be going over those in a moment, so bear with me. Next up is a member of one of my favorite genera, Aphanopelma simani, to be precise. These spiders are typically quite docile. They're not even very skittish. Frankly, I'm not too sure how they've lived in the wild for as long as they have, but that's neither here nor there. This particular species enjoys just a little bit of humidity, which is why I'm not a fan of the enclosure it's in right now. See, it's in one of those, in fact, it's the middle one right there, the short aquarium things. I actually bought these at the Expo last year, give or take. They came with a mesh lid that I completely removed. Never use mesh with your tarantulas. They get stuck, they lose legs. Bad idea. Took that out entirely, replaced it with a sheet of acrylic that slides in and out, and I was done. It is a mild humid species. Correction, it is a mild humid species, and there's no cross ventilation. So once again, not a fan of it, but it is what it is. Moving right along is a species I had personally never even heard of until this Expo, Phlogius species black. If you Google that, you will turn up with very little information. I actually have absolutely no idea how to care for this spider. I looked up the general care for the genus Phlogius, and I went from there. It's known as the whistling spider, or the barking spider, or the barking black spider. This is why common names are garbage. I've had some sources say it's a heavy webber. I've had some sources say it's an obligate burrower. I have had some sources say it's just a terrestrial. I have found that all of those are wrong so far. I've only had it about a day and a half, and it's already webbed up its entire enclosure. Given how little I know about this species, I gave it a little bit of everything. I absolutely despise critter catchers. However, that's what it's in. Blue critter catcher right there. I gave it plenty of substrate to burrow if it chooses to do that. I threw in some webbing anchor points in the form of sticks if it chooses to web, and I gave it a terracotta hide in case it needs to hide. So far, all it has done is go in the hide, web it closed, and now there's a little bit of a hole for it to come in and out. That's about it so far. I expect it to behave very much like a green bottle blue. We'll see what happens. We're going to go back to the basics here for a moment. Brachypelma vagans. This is one of my favorite spiders simply because, in general, they're such a sweetheart. The worst I've ever gotten from these guys is maybe kicking a little bit of hair that itches maybe a little bit. Never had a threat posture. They're very slow moving, not skittish at all. And, frankly, they're adorable. They've got very curly hair. They've got black bodies to accentuate that blonde curly hair. I love them. They're great. So here's what I have mine set up in. Once again, really useful box. Again, I will go back to that in a moment. I have cut out the top, put some acrylic in there. Again, going to go over that in a moment. provided a hide and a water dish. You might see it crawling into its hide right now because it's scared. And that's it. Very easy species to keep. They enjoy just a little bit of humidity. I wouldn't call them a humid species at all, but they're certainly not as dry as a G. rosea, for instance. And now comes the exciting one. Poikilotherius striata. Specifically a male. See, the one right next to him is a female, an adult female. You can see where I'm going with this. He is a penultimate male, meaning he's got 1, maybe 2 molts until he is ready to breed. That will be happening. It is personally my first breeding attempt, and while I'm not happy it's with such a venomous spider, it is what it is, and I'm looking forward to doing it. Very much expect a video on that in the future. I'd really rather not disturb him because he's eating right now, but once again, that is a really useful box. One I will not be making again, however. I don't recommend trying to replicate what I did here. It's not great. It's going to work for the time being, but quite frankly, it's quite literally held together with zip ties, and I'm not a fan of it. It's not great. I tried something. It didn't work. Part of the learning process. I did, however, once again use those neodymium magnets. Those I actually salvaged from an old hard drive from an old Dell computer running Windows XP. Those magnets are much stronger than the ones you're going to buy at Home Depot, and they're a lot larger. I'm not worried even a little bit about an escape on that guy. Frankly, I'm a little worried about the acrylic breaking from the strength of the magnets. We're going to see if that happens. Unfortunately, my budget was strung pretty tight at this point, so I only walked away with 2 slings, the first of which is Catamari argentinens. Someone correct me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. It's the Argentine dwarf. He's a tiny little guy, just kept in this little condiment cup, kept him quite humid, both because he's a sling and because he's from Argentina. It's going to be humid. At this point, he's still eating pre-killed prey. In fact, he's munching on some pre-killed prey I put in there earlier this morning. And that's about it to say on these guys. I actually don't even know what they look like as adults. This is the only other one that I know almost nothing about. If you Google this species, you get literally 2 results, which contradict each other if you read both of them. So I have no idea how to keep this thing. I am going with their natural habitat and hoping for the best. The last sling is Lasiodora difficilis. Pretty standard spider. I've only had one Lasiodora before, and it's in that giant enclosure right there. So I'm looking forward to getting another one and seeing this one grow into those bird eaters people like to talk about. Just like the one I just showed you, it's just in a condiment cup, kept humid, fed pre-killed prey. Nothing fancy here. I'm not going to build an enclosure for something that's going to outgrow in a couple months. I was really planning on this being a short episode. Well, I suppose it would have been short had I not shown off the tarantulas I got. Regardless, this has been Iraniade, I've been Oilers K, and thank you for watching.